Ah yes, it's been so long since we've played Overwatch, or did Overwatch guide at least, because I've been doing Modern Warfare Remastered. So now, without any preparation, prepare your anus, and we'll let the Steam train run. That's the first time I've ever done that kind of kamikaze charge with Reinhardt. Speaking of Reinhardt, let's review him, shall we? So this is Reinhardt. This guy has around 300 health and 200 armor, and he's a tank hero. So let's talk about his main weapon, the Rocket Hammer. The Rocket Hammer does about 75 damage per swing and will sway in a little bit every time you get hit. You will do about 1 swing per second, and this has a very short range, at around 5 meters. So you always have to be very close in order to use this weapon, and you can do some devastating strikes. The main weapon isn't the one that makes Reinhardt tick. Well, it's one of the reasons, but the abilities are the biggest reasons why it makes him tick. So we're going to be talking about his first ability, Charge. What Charge does is that you charge onto enemies within 55 meters, and will do 50 damage when it comes to bouncing, and 300 damage if you're going to be caught and slammed onto another side of the wall. And that is pretty instantaneous to most of the health on most of the heroes. And it has a 10-second cooldown. This is especially perfect when it comes to ultimates, or if there are people who are trying to do ultimates, because it's basically going to cancel them up entirely and will leave them very vulnerable. His second ability gives him a little bit of range, and that ability being called Fire Strike. Fire Strike is a very slow moving projectile, as you saw there, and it does about 100 damage each, and it can only go for a 6-second cooldown, which means every 6 seconds you can be able to fire this, but this you really need to have a whole bunch of lean and aim onto this weapon, especially if you're in the barrier mode. With this, you'll be able to kill people within higher ranges or within rooftops or anything that's down there while you're protecting your team. And that can be very vulnerable and very valuable when it comes to it. But what about the other ability? The one I was talking about earlier. And this is what everyone uses Reinhardt for. The Barrier Field. Barrier Field, it has 2000 health and can spread around onto a large range. And it can protect enemies with that 2000 health each. And it'll be able to recover 200 health every time it's not deployed and each second. The weapon, or the ability, does have a 5-second cooldown if destroyed. And this ability is especially important if you're going against a whole bunch of enemies and your friends are right behind you. This will protect you from ultimates, turrets, and a whole bunch of shit. The ultimate is unusual, however. Instead of killing people, you can no doubt damage them or stun them. But this ultimate is called Earthshatter. Earthshatter pretty much does this. You do 50 damage every time you hit the person, but when you're hitting them, you get a 2.5 second stun time, which means they'll be very vulnerable at that state, which means they can't even do anything. But the range is very minuscule, at 2 to 20 meters. But if you combine this with other ultimates, or if you have other people there, this thing can be pretty deadly. Let's see how we can play Reinhardt now. The purpose for Reinhardt is 2 things: defense and close range combat. If you're thinking about middle range and long range, you're a fucking idiot, and he can be pretty difficult to use at that matter. In fact, it's pretty much impossible. It's used when it comes to using key choke points and within special spots to shield your friendlies, turrets, and a whole bunch of stuff. He's also pretty good when it comes to protecting the payload and making sure that your ultimates or the enemy's ultimates will not destroy you, especially like Diva's self-destruct sequence and maybe Roadhog's other ultimate and many others as well. And with the shield, aim upward when it comes to Fire Strike, otherwise you're going to be aiming more downward and you will be missing your target more often. And do not stay at one spot at the same time, especially if you have multiple enemies going after you. Because if you're going to be staying at that one spot, you're pretty much going to get killed. And it is useless. The Earth Shatter ultimate is pretty much useless without much help, especially if you don't have other ultimates at the ready. If another one has a teammate ready, if you have a good coordinate when it comes to teamwork, that will definitely help. And he is very vulnerable against speed heroes, especially like Genji, Tracer, or Sombra. And he's pretty much good when it comes to he's not good when it comes to one-on-ones, but he's pretty good when it comes to multiple people with him. And that losing him can be very vulnerable. So, let's see some gameplay when it comes to Reinhardt. Thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And Galactic Storm saying, I'll see you guys later.